Ladies and gents, coming to you officially on the record from Dallas, Texas, sentado en mi casa, I'd like to welcome you to Cash and Cocktails. Anyways, this is my first ever show on Tunde TV. I know this podcast is called Cash and Cocktails, but I won't lie to you guys, I haven't had any drinks today. I'm sorry, but it's called Cash and Cocktails because I really just want this to be a fun and laid-back place that everybody listening can just go to again and again when it's time to focus on business and success. Success being whatever it is you want in life, of course. So that's kind of what this podcast is about, really just zoning out. I'm excited to bring it to you permanently. Cash and Cocktails, don't forget the name. And make sure to hit the subscribe button, follow button, like, push notification, and any other button you see on the screen because this podcast has officially begun. Today, I'm going to play for you guys the very first ever song of the day, Hotline Bling by Drake.
You used to call me on my... You used to.
On this episode of Cash and Cocktails, I will break down my personal investment portfolio and share my takeaways from Earl Nightingale's famous talk, The Strangest Secret. Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. Please make sure to do your own research before investing your money. With that being said, if you didn't already forget, the focus of this podcast is supposed to be about business and success. I want you to think like a billionaire. This podcast, think of it like a morning newspaper. Each episode, I will highlight the stocks I think are interesting and worth watching. After that, I will shift to the headlines, aka recent news I find important in the field of business, tech, and/or entertainment. If that's fine with everybody, we've wasted enough time already. On to this past week's numbers. Today is October 28th, 2024, and this past week, the S&P 500 went up, Bitcoin went up, Uber went down, Meta, aka Facebook, went up, Tesla went up a whopping 20%, and Microsoft went down. Of course, stocks aren't everything. Let's back up a little bit and take a look at the headlines. The election is officially 8 days away. Nuclear power stocks are soaring amid an AI energy push. And while the stock is soaring, people who paid $50,000 to reserve Tesla's new Roadster nearly 7 years ago are still waiting to receive their cars. With the presidential elections only 8 days away, both candidates are still neck and neck in the polls. It's safe to say that nobody knows who is going to win this thing. If betting markets have any indication, odds are favoring Trump, who is ranking negative 200 to Vice President Kamala Harris's plus 170. Put simply, this means that if you bet $200 on Donald Trump, you'd win $100 in profit or 0.5x your money. In betting, negative numbers generally tell you who the favorite is. And in Kamala's case, plus 170 odds, if you bet $100 on her victory, you'd win $170 in profit, which is more than double your money back. Shifting headlines. Nuclear power stocks are going absolutely insane. We all know AI is coming. Some might even say it's already here. My thoughts, AI is 100% the future. And I'm not just saying that. Current AI searches take up nearly 10 times the amount of electricity as Google searches. Assuming our cities are running at peak capacity, there is not enough electricity to go around. That is why some of the biggest tech companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are buying their very own little personal nuclear reactors. Each one of these nuclear reactors generates enough electricity to power a small city, which should hopefully be enough. Well, that's what they say. Shifting headlines again. As for Tesla not delivering these cars, reports say that people paid almost $50,000 just to get on the wait list. If you ask me, Elon Musk needs to stop talking about robots and driverless cars and just get these people what they paid for. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another to deliver. Now, let's break down my investment portfolio. Earlier in this episode, I ran through some numbers with you guys. Those numbers were the stocks I am invested in. The S&P 500 making up the majority, or about 50%, of my total portfolio. I like to think of this money as being my safety capital. The other 50% being what I like to call risk capital. This includes Bitcoin, Meta, Uber, Tesla, and Microsoft. Now I know what you're thinking, and yes, these are all big tech companies. You could say I'm a little bit overly invested into tech, but if you look at the numbers, over the past year, Facebook, aka Meta, has almost doubled. It's up 99%. Compare that to the S&P 500, which is only up 41%. Uber, in the past year, is up 88%, and I like this company a lot. I think it still has a lot of room to grow. My prediction, by 2034, Uber will be worth over $500 billion. I mean, let's just look at the facts. Over the past 5 years, Uber is up about 141%, putting its valuation at around $150 billion. I mean, it's more than doubled since 2019 when it IPO'd, and at that time, it was worth around $82 billion, or about $45 a share. So why do I like Uber? Plain and simply, I think it's undervalued. I believe that if the company continues to grow at its current rate, by 2034, Uber will be worth over $500 billion. So that covers Meta and Uber. But why did I decide to include Microsoft and Tesla in my portfolio? Well, I think they're both going to prove to be a very good investment. But why do I believe this? Well, it's 2024, and over the past 2 years, AI has went from nothing to really everything. Literally, I can't go a day without seeing, hearing, or talking to someone about AI, and both Tesla and Microsoft are really well positioned to become the face of this emerging industry. Tesla with their driverless cars and robots, Microsoft with their cloud servers, and by the way, they also own about half of OpenAI. If you look at the numbers, over the past 5 years, Tesla is up a whopping 1,084%, putting its valuation at around $800 billion, and Microsoft is up around 201%, with its valuation currently sitting at a staggering $3.2 trillion. And there you have it, folks. Today is October 28th, 2024. That's my take, and those are my companies. Earl Nightingale gained notoriety for his work in the field of personal development. His famous recording, also a book called The Strangest Secret, challenged people to commit themselves to a 30-day test, during which he says they will learn to understand how their thoughts shape their reality. In fact, this record was recorded in 1956 on a vinyl and was one of the first non-music records to go gold, or sell more than 1 million copies. In this segment, I'm going to share with you a few of the key points from this book. The main takeaway being that everything you want in this life comes with a price, and you can't do anything without paying this price. In this life, if you want more, you're going to have to do more, because your returns are equal to how much you give. I wrote in my notes that the reason it's so important to control your thoughts is because you become what you think about. I believe this is Earl's analogy to another famous book, Think and Grow Rich, which he says changed his life forever. All that corny shit aside, what I got from this is that mindset is everything, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Earl was really adamant about people challenging themselves to commit to a 30-day test, in which they write down their goal and every day think about it constantly. Everybody wants something, and everybody is afraid of something. Don't think about what you're afraid of. Don't think about failing or being judged. Only think about the positive things. And don't give up. Do this for 30 days, and Earl says you will be really happy you did. Quote, "Your returns in this life will be in direct proportion to what you give. So do more than you have to, and remember to stay in control of your mind. This is the price you must pay for what you want."